Hello, so I'm going to be doing a live stream. I was going to start at 8, but then our printer fucking broke down and I had to repair it by dismantling it, cleaning some of the insides and all that. So I'm late to the stream, but oh well. We don't have to necessarily talk about helmets, but I know people generally like talking about helmets, so I thought I'd call this one Helmet Stream and then see if it gets people chatting about helmets. All right, Eltrix. So obviously, good old East German M56 on today, the cone-shaped Stahlhelm. You know, also the bell end shaped Stahlhelm, but still one of my favorite steel pot helmets because it did offer very good protection. No pun intended. Oh, cool, you got Mark II. The old-fashioned Mark II with the sort of webbing type liner. Hello, everybody joining. For the people that always say, where's the Belgian beer? It's there tonight. All right, cool, yeah. I think I like the Mark IIs. They're very practical old steel pots. Well, not even a steel pot, are they? Because they're so simple. Right, Nikolai, what country are you in? Because that will depend quite a lot on what you can get at what prices. But if you want just to get cheap helmets of different types to start a collection off, I'd say Cold War helmets. Yeah, basically Cold War helmets. In the UK, you'll be able to find most European and Eastern European helmets for like £20 to £30 each. So you can get quite a few sort of shape and liner variants doing that. Which one's the SSH-68N? I know the regular SSH-68 is the like quite conical Russian helmet, isn't it? Not really. Then they're not going to be going down properly until Corona's over, I wouldn't think. All right, thanks, Radiac Maniac. I assume a US civil defense helmet print is the same as the like standard M1 pot helmet. Is it just different color? All right, Richard. Hamlet. This isn't Hamlet. It's not Shakespeare. I don't think grandmas have camping kettles that are shaped like that. Yeah, I'd agree, Daniel, there. At least not the good masks. Again, some masks might, like with some of the industrial masks that got, you know, bought out to be sold at a premium. Right, Marcus, deactivated grenades, D&B Militaria do them. That's where I got my deact grenades from. Let's see if they've got any in at the moment. All right, here you go. I'll just link you to this, and then you can see everything they've got in at the moment, grenade-wise. But if you have a look through that, I'm just seeing if there's any cool type grenades on there that I've not got that are in like individual packs, you know, rather than the big, expensive sort of multi-packs. The Hungarian stick grenades are only 15 quid, which isn't bad at all. I've got 2 of those. There's quite a lot of reproduction grenades, but generally, you know, I prefer the old-fashioned Dutch training grenades on there. British Army smoke grenades. Just having a look for all of them now. Some of like the booby trap grenades are pretty cool looking. I'm just looking for all of them now, what they've got in. The Polish grenade case is pretty cool, actually. That sort of satchel, it looks quite durable. British training grenades, which are bright blue. They're quite interesting. Deactivated Lee Enfield grenade launcher, 395 quid. That's pretty cool. Hungarian double grenade. That's cool. It's literally like 2 of those can grenades screwed together. I'll go back to the chat in a minute. So if I've missed a question, just re-ask it when I'm actually looking at the chat. Let me just type in stun grenade or flash grenade just to see if any come up. No results for stun grenade, flash grenade. Yeah, there's a check in a flash grenade for 45 quid on there. I'll just link you to that. That's quite boring looking though. It literally looks like a plastic case with kind of like a trigger spray on it. We don't normally talk about politics on here again, Shed on Fire. I know that's more to do with nerve agents and everything, but I really don't know what to believe of all that stuff. Do I believe the Russians could have poisoned a political opponent kind of thing? Yes. Do I believe they do it using nerve agents and stuff like that, not just a conventional poison? Not really. Well, if you were medically fit to serve your nan, I'd say go for it. We're not in any stupid Middle Eastern conflicts at the moment, are we? Where you're going to get your limbs blown off because we want the oil or something over there. You know, I think you'd be doing a good national service if you did join any of the military branches. It's just I've been a bit skeptical of some of the stuff the army and, you know, the armed forces have been doing under the orders of government for the last 20 years or so. Yeah, I've got 2 Denix pistols, but you can't have modern Denix replicas in the UK because of stupid laws over here. That's pretty cool. What was that? The SSH-40, Gordana. If you want to look up air pistols, Nikolai, go on somewhere like Palpax. I'll link you to their site. Then look at everything they've got in and choose one you like. Because obviously I do not keep up with the prices of all air pistols at all times. There you go. So if you look up that, go there. That's all their air guns that are air pistols. Look up all of those and then go on the categories, pick one you like. Then you can have it delivered to your doorway. You can sign the paperwork and get it. Not rainy today, not rainy tomorrow, hopefully, not rainy Sunday. Yes, Mr. Crazy, I've done a video on that. Not as far as I'm aware, Elias. Let me look it up. But I'm pretty sure I don't, judging at the fact I don't recognise the name. No, so that's the Sphere bullet-resistant or bulletproof helmet, a Russian one. No, I don't have that. It looks cool, but sadly, no, I don't have them, because modern Russian stuff very rarely turns up for sale over here. Only like the old Cold War mass-produced stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, Marcus, it's one of those things that's just worth checking every now and again, because they get different stuff in. You know, like I said, the Hungarian stick grenades, they've still got in pretty cheap. You know, like 15 quid for these isn't bad at all, because these are interesting. The old stick grenades. The German ones are way more expensive, but the Hungarian ones are really similar and a lot cheaper. But the ones I really like are these. The, you know, like Soviet-style F1 grenades or whatever they were called. You know, classic pineapple-style one. This one's still got the arming bit intact, so I won't pull the thing out because you have to reset it using a screwdriver. But yeah, you can see how they've deactivated it because they've completely taken the inside out. But as said, the actual arming mechanism on this particular one still works. So if it was put on a real grenade, it would set it off. But, you know, as it is, it's just basically like a spring that flies out. Yeah, if you want to hear what it sounds like a bow. That's what it sounds like. East German helmets are very good, though, for what they were. They're not very thick, but the steel quality was pretty good. And the shape, you know, the shape meant they actually diffracted rounds quite well, deflected rounds quite well. Well, I love East German M56's Fox Sickness. Again, they're a very outdated design. They're weird looking, but if you like sort of Stahlhelm style helmets, this was the best built Stahlhelm out of all of them, just because basically it was the most likely to deflect something going through your skull. Yeah, it is very wide. Let me get you a conventional helmet to show you, like obviously this is the French one, a French M51, but it's close enough to the US M1 that most people recognize the shape of it. So yeah, to compare these, yeah, look at the width for that East German one. But yeah, the East German helmets are very wide, but they were very practical. Basically, the main difference between this and the old Stahlhelms, The problem is, OK9, a lot of it is the shockwave, because the shockwave from a grenade is actually more dangerous often than how fast the shrapnel flies out. But yeah, East German helmets are very wide, but that's why they were protective. Now, British cops have, I don't have my one handy, but they wear the Pascot style helmets if they're wearing a helmet. So this is what the army was using a while ago, at least the British Army, the Mark 7. And I've got the Virtus helmet down there as well. I do like the Mark 7 though; it is a very good helmet. But you know, this is a weird shaped helmet, but it's because it's actually cut to shape to be really practical. You know, so it goes up where your eyes are and then down again to give you better coverage. It's wider where the ears are, so comm equipment fits underneath it. And you know, back shaped where it won't interfere with equipment. Oh, you mean the yeah, you mean they're kind of piff helmets the police have. I can't think of what they're called, but yeah, I know what you mean. The old-fashioned police sort of decorative helmets, the ones that didn't. I've got one of the German World War II helmets, but I don't know which model it is. But yeah, the modern British helmet, as I've said over and over again before, is this one, which is really good, although it's technically an American helmet. It's just we buy them under license, basically. But yeah, this is by far the best helmet I've got out of any of the ones in my collection. But this is basically the American ECH. But it's just... Well, if you mean a French helmet, this is a French helmet, not a US one. And that just makes a bit of like a noise. But that's mostly down to the liner, I think. But yeah. The East German one rings like a bell due to its shape, mostly, because of how kind of hollow the inside is compared to the... Yeah, I've only got one or two helmets that ring like that East German one. I can't remember, does this... I can't remember if this one rings. The... No, this doesn't. I have got another one that rings like the East German one, but I can't remember which one it was. Hang on, I'm interested now which helmet it was. No, not this one either. If it's the Chinese one, I can't... Unless it's a Chinese one, I can't think what one it was. No. Yeah, no idea, but yes, it's the East German helmet that has the really good ring to it, just because of the shape of it. It's because it's such, you know, a bow shape. I'm pretty sure the East German one does ring slightly in your hand. Yeah, it's closer. But yeah, I know what you mean. You have to have it on to make the bell sound. But yeah, let's just try it then with a couple of helmets. Cool. Camus, which one, or Camus, which one are you going to buy? Yeah. That definitely rings better on your head. Let's just try... Let's just see the Yugo one, because that's still a Stahlhelm fundamentally underneath. So... But this obviously fits a lot tighter to your head. No, this one definitely doesn't. Right, I don't have the Dutch World War II helmet, but I've got this, which is essentially the Dutch World War II helmet. This is a Romanian M73, if I remember the name lot. But yeah, the Romanian M73 is a copy of the Dutch, whatever it was, M26 helmet, or whatever it was called. But this one doesn't actually ring, sadly. I think a lot of the time it comes down to the shape of the helmet and the liner. Because obviously if the liner is sort of absorbent enough, it's not really going to ring, because it just absorbs most of the noise. Yeah, it very well could be that, Daniel. I mean, I don't know all the physics factors that make it ring or not ring, but yes, these German ones definitely ring. I have JC for it, but that was years ago, sadly, before I did YouTube videos. Otherwise, I'd have filmed it and put on the thing, but it wasn't any interesting military one. It was like a Ruger. It wasn't even a Ruger 1022. It was a bolt-action 22 long rifle. So, you know, like one of those very boring training rifles where you have a very small mag on it you have a straight pull bolt and it shoots 22 long rifle. Yeah, M73s are cool, aren't they, Wingters? Again, they're a bit like the East German helmets again, wherever I've put the East German one. I think the East German one is still wider, though. Yeah, it is. Look at that for a width comparison. But both of them are pretty conical, which is what gives you good protection wearing them, because a round is more likely to deflect. Because obviously the steel in these helmets was not strong enough to stop bullets. I literally just said I did, so you didn't listen to me. From what I understand, 22 long rifle is still a real gun. All right, cheers, Alex. I have got one so far. Sadly, it didn't go all the way to the top, but you know. But yes, thank you. Belgian beer is good. I don't have fictional helmets, no. What, the ringing noise? Yeah, well, if you want to look, the East German one has a liner like this. There's plastic, I don't know if you can see that underneath, that fills the shape of the helmet. Don't know how visible that is. And then obviously you've got like this leather or fake leather stuff in the foam there. Cheers, Slavo8. One of the things that might impact it as well, though, I don't completely know, is no rivets on the East German helmet. Thank you very much, Thomas. I appreciate that. Don't worry, I will spend it on that. Yeah, so you think it's the wider bottom bit, Daniel? Okay. I'm trying to think, do I have any other really wide helmets at the bottom? Let me just try this Chinese one again, if it's on my head. But, because this is fairly wide at the bottom, but not super. That's more of a noise. It's not a total ringing noise, but I can feel this one echo around more. Again, I think you might be right. I think you're like saying it might be the width at the bottom of the helmet. You didn't say the reason, Peter, why it rings. All right, try hitting the top of the helmet. That's even less of a noise. I think, like, you know, when you ring a bow, obviously the bow hits the bottom inside bit, doesn't it? You know, essentially when you've got a bow, it's doing, the thing inside's doing that, isn't it? The clacker or whatever you call it. It's like hitting those side bits. Yeah, the East German one is definitely the one where you get the best noise. Yeah, this is definitely the best one in terms of making a bow noise. Yeah. Even does it with your hand. The loudest I've ever got this to ring, painfully loud, was getting a metal tactical pen and hitting this bit really hard with it. It might work with the penknife, but yeah. But yeah. It would certainly work to a degree, Sparrow. How well it works compared to other materials, I don't know. But it's certainly not going to have a blade go through it easily. Blunt force, it would be pretty good, just simply because if you see the videos of how it holds up against bullets, bullets are kind of a partial mix between blunt force and piercing. And, you know, the edge cracks like a shell, but the stuff just back faces a bit. Ah, it's very interesting, Rich. I didn't know that. But yeah, this is certainly going to hold up against light impacts absolutely fine. In terms of cut resistance, obviously I don't want to damage my best helmet that I'd actually use in terms of shit hit the fan, but Yeah, that barely marks it, look. So yeah, this would be fairly resistant, I would think. Yeah, exactly, Stuart. There's a lot of factors, isn't there? And again, enough force applied to anything, even if the object physically protects you, can still kill you or still cause you a lot of harm, you know. Which is why, yes, this helmet is technically bulletproof in a way, but I don't think your body would still be if you're wearing it. Definitely more interesting one, however I pronounce your name. Is it Tivercoin? Tivercoin? But I'm trying to think because, again, in terms of modern helmets, most aren't all that interesting other than things like this because of their protective value. I would definitely like to get some of the different Russian helmets I don't own, but again, it's spotting them for good prices. Yeah, politics is one of the things we don't like to argue about on the stream and make people, you know, unhappy. But for the reason I don't like communism, because in lovely, you know, socialism and communism are lovely ideas. In reality, most communist regimes committed horrible repression and murders against their own people. You know, I don't like National Socialism, aka Nazism, either. You know, most politics where you have to find scapegoats and people to basically persecute to make your, you know, ideology seem better aren't good. You know, the thing is, there's lots of problems with Western democracies, but generally committing genocide against groups of people isn't one of them. XM28s are very thin particle cheek filters, Radiac Maniac. They're not designed to stop gas. Yeah, that's exactly the point. It's only as impact resistant as your spine, exactly. Yeah, Ayn Rand, as in she wrote a lot of the libertarian stuff, didn't she? Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead. Yes, I know Ayn Rand. Don't know if I completely agree with her ideals, but Ayn Rand stuff is interesting, and it's a shame a lot of people are like, wow, this would be a good book, but I'm giving it a bad review because Ayn Rand wrote it. Yeah, there's some quite interesting Polish helmets. I've got an old, like, 1950s Polish helmet from, like, the Soviet-controlled, you know, Poland, the Warsaw Pact Poland, Communist Poland. The, you know, Polish People's Army, or whatever it's called, helmet from the time. But sadly, I don't have any modern Polish Kevlar stuff. It does turn up on eBay now and again. Either she's fine and not doing videos, Radiac Maniac, or something bad happened to her radiation. Guess which one you think's more likely? If you just want a simple helmet Slavo 8, you can't break very easily. Get an American M1 or an M1 clone or a Soviet SSH-40, you know, or later version or clone, because they all work fairly well as steel pot helmets, not very expensive. Of course, I've seen Saving Private Ryan. Ah, sounds lovely, Daniel. Sadly, you can't share links unless you're a mod on here. But for the person saying how blade resistant is this, I thought of a better test. Yeah, that rings a bit, actually. But as you can see, leaves slight scratches on it. That's it. Not a sensible thing to be doing that, is it? But, you know, I do have faith a helmet like this would give me very good protection if I was wearing it. If I was able to get more of these helmets at cheaper prices, I would love to do endurance tests on these. But as this is my best helmet, you know, I'm not going to seriously damage it. But anyway, if you wanted to see what the sword did, it's taken the outer thing off of it. And it's just done slight scrapes by the look of it. So basically, let's just get those little bits off. Yeah, you can just about see the milk jug material underneath. Yeah, I know, but like I'm saying, I don't want to, you know, because this is my best and most expensive helmet, the better condition I keep it in, the better, especially because if I wanted to sell it, I could get like 200 quid for this. What, the massive, like, titanium ones? They're very cool, but sadly I've never seen legit ones for good prices. I've seen either copies of them for good prices, you know, which isn't really a good price because it's a copy, or, you know, the real ones for very much. A sword is definitely not going to penetrate a steel helmet if you did that. I'm getting rid of the guy that's spamming to shout out his channel over and over and over. Oh, Lord Quinticus said, I took a COVID-19 test 2 days ago and got a result today. It turns out I don't have COVID-19. Good for you. I didn't have it either when I took the test, but I had to get it because, you know, I've got vulnerable relatives. And I was in contact with somebody who did have it. Yeah, there's lots of helmets that cause problems like that, Daniel. Again, apparently a big problem with some of the really heavy titanium helmets, which is why Russia is phasing them out, is that your neck would still likely get broken from a bullet impact, you know. So it went from bullet goes through your head and kills you to bullet hits the helmet, breaks your neck and kills you. You might as well just have the regular helmet then. Masker 1, is that the name of it? I know there's like a series of those helmets. Thing is, I really like those helmets and would love one, but I can appreciate some of the reasons they aren't practical. Apparently, though, Russia's like standard Kevlar helmet is better than most of the other Kevlar helmets available. It's just not as good as the modern thermoplastic stuff. What did he say? Why did Peach get rid of him? Oh, he said oof. That's not a proper comment. I can do. Right, is it behind me or in the drawer? Right, I think the pulsar might actually be put away, but if you just want to see roughly the mask attached to that. This is the Rhino mount that Hype sent me that fits the helmet. So you get this. Is it this way around? It's that way around, isn't it? Like that. If I can line it up with the helmet on. Then you fold that down like that, and then you attach night vision to that, and it lines up with your face. The one it uses is the pulsar I got this set up with. But if I don't know if I've actually got the pulsar particularly handy. No, I don't. But to answer your question, it's the pulsar that connects to this. Well, you can connect lots of night visions to this, but thank you, Chaotic Duck, I guess that is. But yes. Let me just check, have I got it behind there? Because obviously the pulsar is not my best night vision anymore. But the Gen 2 I've got is too bulky to attach to this. All right, Luigi King. But yeah, let's see if the pulsar is here. Because I didn't think I put it away completely, but I can't spot it anywhere obvious. The problem is because I've not done the strap up on the helmet. Every time I look down, the helmet starts sliding down my face. So I might actually just do the strap up on this now. Right, that's better. Right, the pulsar. Is it on here, or did I put it away somewhere and I don't know where I put it away? I think the answer is I've put the pulsar away and I don't know where I put it away, unfortunately. Yeah, but OK9, that's certainly not good if it hits one of your comrades, is it? Oh, there's the pulsar. I just put it in the wrong drawer. Okay, so basically, depends which eye you want it on, obviously. I've got it set up for, at the moment, the left eye. But you would simply mount that bit to there. If I can do this, because it's pretty awkward to try and do this with the actual helmet on without taking it off. Tell you what, I can just take the Rhino mount off, can't I? But yeah, what you do is you just simply attach this to your night vision thing. Like a little screw bit for it. There we go. Oh, Peach, have you started watching the new The Boys yet? I started watching it a bit before the stream, so I have to finish all the episode they've put out when the stream ends. Yeah, this is a bit of a pain in the ass to align properly. So I think that should actually be going in that way, how I've got the rail set up. Unless I'm putting it on the wrong one. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it was me being a dumbass. Yeah, you have to attach it this way round, because then the bit fits into that gap properly. So, once I get this back on. For the person asking about the helmet's night vision. Which is, again, it's not the easiest mount to take on and off without actually having the helmet off. Because it's one of those, like, lock and slot type things. There we go. So yeah, then you fold that down. I want to twist that round to my other eye. I want to take my glasses off. I'll only turn the night vision on to the, mode on with this on. Because I don't want to damage anything in the dark. But yeah, there you go. That's the infrared light on it as well. Again, you need to like fine tune it so it stays directly on your eye, without like you needing to hold it like that so it doesn't move away like that. But yeah, that's how the helmet attaches with night vision. For those of you just wanted to see that night vision works, there you go. But obviously, I've got the protective cap on it because we're in a room with lights on, and this is a Gen 1 Plus unit, so light definitely damages it. So let's just turn that off. But yeah, if you have the helmet with the night vision on, it basically looks like that. If you had the helmet on like that, then you obviously just flip it up when you don't want to use it. Saying that, it shouldn't push along like that as easily as it did, so that needs tightening. I'm quite tempted to see if I can find a way of tightening this all up so it stays exactly where I want it, though. Because that's the main challenge of this, is getting it, precisely sitting on your eye without it messing about and coming off essentially like target. Because, yeah, it's which bit you tighten up to which degree to get it to stay perfectly here is another thing. Because it's that sort of hinge bit that causes the problem. Because obviously I want it to be like that, not like that, for obvious reasons. But because if I hold it there, it's absolutely fine. But as soon as you let go, it sort of auto just pulls out a bit. So it's like, yeah, that bit there that needs to keep it in a better position. But yeah, it's not ideal. And I said, this isn't my best night vision scope either. My best night vision scope is the like Royal Navy IM101, which is like a big sort of monocular thing that you hold up, with a gun type thing. All right, what was the question, Keaton? Because I sort of missed some of it. I just saw something about a compass. All my compasses are radium, except a couple of them. These are called rhino mounts, Sparrow. Well, at least the thing that night vision's attached to is a rhino mount. But I know this sort of mount, there's a couple of variants, but this is the quite common one. I think the compass in the one with the watch. It's the old Russian one, isn't it? They used to be radium, but later ones weren't radium. I don't think that one's very radioactive, so it's probably a post-radium one. You don't want flashing lights, though, because that gives you away, doesn't it? You will be exterminated. Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean, especially now it's up like that. Yeah, especially if it was more central. But yeah, if you had the night vision bit directly there, yeah. You can for this helmet, but if you get the visor, the night vision has to come off, because the visor on this, weirdly, let me take the night vision off and shows you. The helmet visor attaches there, there, and there. So basically, the mandible visor guard thing has like a 3-point attachment system. Right, the helmet used in Starship Troopers was actually made for the film. It's like a prop helmet, because they were also used in Firefly when they were sold off from Starship Troopers. I could tell you what helmet it looks most similar to. Let me just get a picture up of it. It always reminds me of the Imperial Guard. But yeah, they're literally like plastic helmets they made for the film. But apparently they're called the MI-M3 Tactical Helmet is the name of the thing in the film. But yeah, it's not a real helmet. They were literally like ones they built in mass on plastic for the film. They remind me a bit of a British Mark 6 helmet, actually, like a cross between the Pasket and the Mark 6. But yeah, that sadly they're not real helmets. No, sadly I've never been to Milsim West. Is that one of like the Milsim sort of airsoft things? Sadly, no, I've never been. Well, when you say strap only style winter style, what do you mean like what do you mean like night vision or what? Strap only what? Considering I've got Band of Brothers on Blu-ray, yes, I have seen it. Nope, it was completely clean Radiac Maniac, as said. Oh wow, you'll see in the video that comes out, it was actually pretty boring in terms of radiation. They've done a pretty good job cleaning it up. Yeah, if you want to see the inside of the helmet, it's like a mesh liner at the top. So you can obviously adjust that, but I found it was fine with a factory adjustment. There's pads all around it, and then you've got the adjustment wheel for this bit to make it looser or tighter with the liner. And then obviously the helmet straps are this sort of style strap. Yeah, so I think just because the film had quite a big budget, they were able to just mass produce plastic helmets for it. You know, a bit like with Star Wars, all the Stormtrooper helmets. They were just like mass produced from really cheap plastic. Excellent, Thomas. Have you got it set up and working? But the DP5s are brilliant Geigers, aren't they? eBay Crystal. No, it's fine, Radiac Maniac. As I said, it was something I've answered a couple of times already. It's probably just Sparrow because it's quite practical, isn't it? I mean, if you get a helmet like this and then put a face guard on it, as much as I reckon they could probably size down the one for this and it would still be just as good. It's probably just a practicality thing. All right, cool. Yeah, you need to get the weird old Soviet batteries, don't you? Which are kind of like bigger than a AA but smaller than the C-cell batteries, those. They are at least 1.5 volt batteries, so you can like jury rig AA's to fit those, all right, which is the only good thing. But yeah, that was the main difference they did when they upgraded it to the IMD5, whatever they called it. It takes C-cells, so you can get batteries easily for it. At some point, I will get an IMD5 Geiger, but it's getting it when I spot one for a good price and I've got spare money. What's it reading here? 14 micro Rontgens, which is 0.14 microsieverts, pretty much. And that's with that window open. So very low levels. At Summer Sellafield, it was 9 and 10, so, you know, even lower. Yeah, you could, Daniel. I'm sure online you can probably find somebody who's made like little cells, the things where you literally can fit a AAA in and it, you know, clips to the right size, or a AA. Because I've got those battery adapters for some batteries, you know, like when I want to use a D cell thing that doesn't drain much battery. But yeah, I do want to get an IMD5 because that's basically the modernized version of a DP5. It's the same scales, but it does millirads and rads rather than Rontgens, basically meaning it's an absorbed Rontgen it displays on the screen, you know, same as a centigrade. So it's a bit more useful if you want to know how much damage the radiation is doing to you per like minute per hour sort of thing. So it's the exact same scale. 0 to 1,000 or 0 to 5,000, whatever it is, millirads, and then 0 to 200 rads or 1 to 200 rads. But it takes C-cell batteries rather than the weird old Soviet ones, and it's kind of a bit more compact, as in like the screen takes up more of the box. That's interesting. Let me look them up, Stuart. So multi-cell. Multi-cell Lancaster. Sadly, I can't spot much coming up about them in line, but it's like one of those ones where you can order batteries to like size and power requirements, because if so, that'd probably be very good for powering old retro electronics that have stupid battery sizes. The best Riot helmet I've got, although I wish the visor was bigger, is this Russian one. Just because with this Russian one, it has a really, really comfortable liner and a good buckle system. Like, it's like a seatbelt buckle. But yeah, you might be able to see that it's like a really good foam and like mesh liner. Very comfortable. The British Riot helmets you can get for quite good prices over here, but the British ones have very, very cheap tacky liners, as in it's literally like a couple of pads glued in. That's your liner. Nowhere near as comfortable as these. And the British ones are a bit shit when it comes to sizing. So if they say a certain size, there's a good chance it might be bigger or smaller than the size, because it seems the quality control isn't brilliant on the size. Oh, that's cool, Stuart. If I live closer to Lancaster, that might be good. But yeah, because I'm sure you know things like my Mark II Radiac there take stupid old batteries that you can't get anymore. But again, I wouldn't spend all that much money to get one of those running, because I can run the MD3, which is even better. If you want a really cheap Riot helmet, buy a good motorcycle helmet, because they're literally the same thing. What they literally do is Riot helmets is designed to like protect your head from an impact and have a visor to protect your face. They're literally the same thing. Yeah, I was going to go there this year, but, Corona happened. If you didn't see, yesterday I went to the site of Britain's worst nuclear emergency, which is like number 3 or 4 on the world's list of worst nuclear disasters. But everything around there is still inhabitable, or it's private property and you're not allowed on it. But yes. Oh, I've taken the photos off my phone, so I can't show you. But yeah, I went to Windscale yesterday. Yes and no. Let me show you what it would look like through the webcam. Obviously, your hearing's going to be a bit limited, but most of them have like tiny kind of plastic covered things there. So it will muffle your hearing a bit, but let's put it like this where the webcam is. So that's with the visor up, visor down. Hang on, I'm going to have to get the angle right. Right, so visor up, visor down. Again, this one, the visor could do with being a bit better or a bit bigger. But yeah, they don't impact your senses too much, Riot helmets, if you get one that fits you well. Like this doesn't cut off much of my vision at all. It's not as bad as a gas mask. But again, it's like a motorcycle helmet. The idea is that, most of your head is protected by the actual helmet itself. Then the visor stops an impact to the face. But as I said, I wish this one came lower, because somebody could still probably break your chin with one of these, break your jaw. Because, yeah, the issue of this one, like you can probably see this from the side, the actual plastic face guard doesn't cover the bottom of your chin. It's a shorter kind of guard. The British Mark III Riot helmet I've got, like the visor comes down to about there. But yeah, saying the only thing I don't like about this Russian one is the fact the visor's pretty compact, which, is probably good for like backline Riot officers, not good if you're at the front and somebody, chucks something at your face there, because they could break your jaw. Yeah, only thing, Camus, is when I went there, had to deal with the police, because they certainly wanted to know what I was doing with Geiger counters and a camera at a nuclear site. But I answered them honestly. I was there because there was a nuclear disaster there, and I find it interesting. And that was actually a satisfactory answer for them. They did run my ID through their computer thing and realised I wasn't a wrong one. Although I wonder if they can see how many times I've had to deal with CBRN police for stuff, because that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Like, oh, it says here that you've been flagged up before for nuclear terrorism. But, yeah, they were nice enough about it, because, again, I think once they realised I was there because I found it interesting, not because I wanted to commit some, act of terror or whatever. If it's good mail, Sam, yes. If it's bad mail, no. So you need to get something called riveted mail, not butted mail. Butted mail is the shit one. Get riveted mail. Wait, it is that way around, isn't it? Let me check this, because I can't remember which is the good one. Let me check. Butted mail versus riveted. Which is the good one? Yeah, you want butted chainmail, because butted chainmail has the rings bent together with no mechanical connection holding the ends together. Riveted mail was historically used by societies like Celts and Vikings, While buttered is... Oh, right, no, sorry. While buttered is normally used for modern-day reenactments. Yeah, you want riveted mail, then. Yeah, riveted mail. If you're getting mail, get riveted mail. It's the one that's always more expensive, but it's the one that's stronger. You can find lots of videos of buttered mail where it gets, like, hit by a hammer and it starts falling apart. Yeah, you're right, Sam. It is the riveted one that's better. I couldn't remember without looking it up which one was which, but yeah. Oh, that's pretty good, Daniel. Yeah, it's not bad at all. Prepper Shop had filters in recently for a good price, and I bought some. Yeah, nuclear tourism is very interesting. I mean, people like seeing old battlefields. Why wouldn't you like seeing the sites of nuclear disasters? They're just as interesting, in terms of science and human history. I think it depends really what you want it for, doesn't it, Dual Link? Because again, mail is a pretty outdated concept now compared to like modern stab and like cut resistant materials. But it depends what you want it for, though, doesn't it? If somebody just wants it for fancy dress, they're not going to have to spend very much. If you want something that's really protective, you're going to have to spend more. Oh, that's interesting, but sadly I'm not in America, I'm in the UK, and a lot of that stuff can't be exported, sadly, because of your ITAR rules. But I do appreciate it, thank you. I wouldn't want to swim in a nuclear lake. I don't mind visiting them with protective equipment and Geiger counters. It's a very different thing going, I'm going to contaminate myself. Did you enjoy it, Crystal? Sounds really good. I wanted to go to Chernobyl this year, but as Corona happened, and luckily even before we booked, there was problems finding like one that was exactly how we wanted to fly and stay there and all that. So it ended up saving us a load of money because it didn't get cancelled due to Corona. Yeah, I definitely agree, Daniel. I think in modern stuff, putting chainmail over like a stab-proof vest would be even better, wouldn't it? Because that's going to be even more resistant. If you had one of these, if I can get it out, if you had one of these underneath the chainmail, even better. But yeah, as I said, these on their own are like probably better than chainmail. But yeah, a combination of the two would be really good. But yeah, I do know that some police forces still use chainmail for certain things if they think people are like going to seriously attack them with like machetes and swords and things. If you're on about what's the click, it's this. See? Every time that little light flashes, it clicks. Yeah, again, lots of stab protection doesn't even protect against needle. You have to particularly get the stuff they call spike resistance to protect from like needles and ice picks and things. Oh, that's interesting, Daniel. I've seen videos before where people fill up like buckets of sand and then they shoot them with pistols versus bows and crossbows. And yeah, arrows go through weirdly, especially with like certain heads on them, go through like sand and much better than bullets do. But again, at the end of the day, you probably don't want to get shot with anything, do you? It's the DP5 in Chernobyl. Hang on, and I will show you. If I've got the headphones handy, I should do somewhere. Where have I put them? That's annoying. Thought I had the headphones for it on here. Unless they've fallen through somewhere. There they are. Alright, let me turn this one off so you can hear the thing. Let me just turn that off. Right, so yeah, what you're thinking of in terms of Geiger clicks is the famous DP5 noise. Because this is like the world's most famous series of Geiger counters. Although pretty much all Geigers make the same noise, but that noise. But yeah, if I turn that down and adjust it, it obviously won't be ticking that fast. That's just because it's warming up. There we go. See, it's not ticking like crazy now. Probably British old DPM, 95 DPM. CADPAT technically looks the best thing, but I've never seen CADPAT for sale for a good price. Also, Finnish MO5 camo is really nice. My favourite camo in general is SS Leto. This one doesn't have a radium dial, so it does nothing. That's the DP63 of the radium dial. If you want to hear this tick, though, hang on a second. We'll flip the plasma ball on. Hold this over there. There we go. If you set this to the highest scale and put the probe directly on the plasma ball, this goes to about 100 Rontgen. But yeah, if you're interested in the classic Soviet Geiger counters, it's always the DP5 series you want to look for. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Daniel. Obviously, a good camo is better than no camo. But yeah, if you can't conceal yourself when you're making lots of noise, it's not going to help much, is it? Even if you have a good camo on. All right, cool, Richard. I can't click and watch that now because I'm doing a stream. But yeah, that does sound like sort of the thing I watched. Well, as in this one, Thomas. This one was sent without the check source, as they're meant to do with EU sort of stuff. My DP5V does have the check source in it because it's the one where you can twist the wand, and when it's twisted into a particular setting on the probe, it lines up with strontium 90. Yeah, the majority of Geiger counters I have the check sources removed, unfortunately, because that's an EU rule. But now and again, as I've said before, you'll get a Geiger counter or whatever, and they don't know how to remove the check source because it's actually inside the unit itself. And those ones are always good because you get a check source. It doesn't TXC. It's because it's high voltage. It confuses the Geiger counters, basically. It's like electromagnetic kind of interference. So if I've got any Geigers with steel cases on them, or like really robust cases, they never get set off by the plasma board. But most Geigers aren't kind of shielded in that way. So the Chinese ones with the steel boxes around the Geiger counters don't get set off by them. Cheap paint respirator, literally anything you can find that does A1P3 protection. For paint, you don't need a proper respirator. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to have a look into it, Camus, but you have to be careful with that, because the problem is sometimes people working at US Customs don't know it doesn't fall under the ITAR list. So unfortunately, you can still run into the problem of it's perfectly legal, but there's a cunt working in customs who's like, it looks like it's a military-grade 5.56 baby killing assault rifle. Non-Americans can't have that. Well, that's part of the soundtrack. That's in the soundtrack. That noise. That's not what actually happened. That's called non-diegetic sound. It's called a soundtrack. Bull pump. Do you mean bull pup? Probably the Steyr AUG, which is a pretty classic but good one. Sadly, most bull pups were kind of horrible failures when they introduced, like the L85, the FAMAS, and all the others. Yeah. Double barrel extended magazine clip. Full semi-auto. Cheers, Freddy Foreskin. Is that a lambda symbol you've got as your icon? I can't quite see, as in like Half-Life. Can you stop asking me over and over and over again to buy a helmet? As I've said over and over again, there's lots of stuff I would buy if it turns up at a good price. If it's not a good price, I'm not going to buy it, because it's called a waste of money. The original model was dual-link. Part of the problem with the original series of the FAMAS was the French used parts in it that weren't built for the pressure of actual 5.56 ammunition. So the French basically issued their own version of 5.56, which was less pressure, like less powder in it, essentially. But basically what ended up happening was if French troops used proper ammo, the FAMAS could break or explode. So basically it was only a lot later that they did versions of the FAMAS where it had far more durable parts. The modern FAMAS is good, but, you know, versions of the FAMAS. But again, nearly every bullpup rifle had massive teething problems because they were all made on, like, stupid budget restrictions. You know, like with the L85. The original L85 would have been fine, maybe except for one or two design flaws. But the British government at the time said literally make it as cheap as possible. You know, skimp on all the parts, which meant that lots of the parts were really fragile. Because I find it interesting, Joshua. Tavor looks pretty cool, but that's a lot more modern, isn't it, the Israeli Tavor? I've never actually seen much about how they handle, but I imagine they're fine. But I'm saying out of the old ones, the AUG was definitely the one that did it right kind of first time, whereas lots and lots of other bullpups had so many teething problems. Yeah, I suppose it is a bullpup, technically F4B. I didn't really think about that, but I'm mainly thinking of, like, assault rifles. I've got a cloud chamber, but I've not got any dry ice for it. I do have a cloud chamber. They're interesting, but I don't have one set up, no, because I'd need to get all the dry ice for it. Yeah, there's quite a lot of different things. I think problem with F1 dueling, it's a bit like saying M1, because the French have an F1 helmet and F1 camo and everything. F1 was just like a designation they used instead of M. Yeah, apparently that's the thing, Daniel. A lot of people said to me about the FAU. You know, when the SLR was in service, if you were left-handed, you could shoot it all right. As soon as the L85A1 came in, enjoy getting hit in the face with brass. You know. Yeah, there's several bullpup AKs. They work, but they're not very practical when you can just get a standard AK. Because here's the thing as well, like a lot of things, it's like, okay, bullpup cuts a couple of inches off of it, but they're more mechanically complex, so what's the point? No, I do not sleep in this room. Where would I sleep? I mean, I could sleep very awkwardly on all that stuff, but I don't, or the floor. I think, Daniel, it's because it was made by a company that didn't cheap out on it. I said the problem with a lot of bullpups is they were made on very limited budgets, and then you couldn't make something as complex as a bullpup good on a low budget, you know. It's kind of like AKs work because they're cheap but very reliable. If you take the reliability factor away, you know, cheapness and reliability factor away from an AK to make it a bullpup, what's the point, you know? All right, Tactical. It's a shame Glow in the Dark hasn't been on in a while, because if Glow in the Dark turns up again, I'll tell him about my experience with the Civil Nuclear Constabulary the other day. He'll probably find that interesting, because that was a job he used to do. I don't know what a Sturpenpanzer is off the top of my head, I'm afraid, Blue Baron. With the word Panzer in it, does it have anything to do with a tank or armor? I know what Kevlar is. I know what, like, Panzers are, as in Panzer IV, you know, things like that. But what is, in plain English, what is a Sturmpanzer? Is it a kind of vest or a helmet? Or a tank? I don't know. Yeah, there was a combination of things, Daniel. There was the things like the poorly designed mag release, and then there was also the factors of it was made really cheap and crap because they didn't want to pay much money for it. Oh, okay, that's interesting. If you stick it on and you let me know, Blue Baron, I might. I don't do reaction videos, but I'll tell you what I think. Does Kevlar really expire? If it's not treated properly, it expires. If you store something made of Kevlar in very good conditions, not really. Or at least not any time close to its expiry date. Most Kevlar things with a 5-year expiry date is basically just so, you know, companies can keep selling the stuff, and that there's no chance that, like, somebody's going to be unfortunately issued with something that's been around so long and mistreated for so long that it would actually fail. I know the prototype of the L85 is in, if you go back ages, like, you know, what's it called? The old EM2 rifle, or whatever it's called. But that's not really an L85 as much as it looks similar. That was a much, much better rifle. But yeah, unfortunately, the L85, it was based a lot on the AR-18 design, wasn't it? It's just everything was cheapened. No, Connor, I already said she died, or he died a year ago, so don't ask. No, I do not have an ASR 97 Slovak helmet. Oh, that's cool, Cosy. It's a pretty standard cheap mask, isn't it? But it's good for what it is. Because it costs money to replace it. You know, like all this stuff. Right, all the helmets together, probably 20 to 30 helmets altogether. I've got a few World War II helmets, loads of Cold War helmets, and a few modern helmets. The bulk of mine are like old steel Cold War pops because they're generally pretty cheap to buy surplus. It's not as bad as when you ask me how many gas masks do I have. That's when it starts, or Geiger counters now, that's when it starts going. But the thing is with a GP5, it's practical, isn't it? It was built cheap, but it works. When stuff's built cheap and it works, I don't have any issue with it. Yeah, the thing is, I like it because it's simple, the GP5. It was very cheap to mass produce, essentially a rubber hood with eyepieces on it that's had a filter screw in. Yep. Yep. What's his name? Flapper. Not Flapper. Flapper's the budgie before Sparky. Sparky did always tweet whenever there's a loud noise, such as hitting a Kevlar vest. Or if you were trying to talk for a video, singing over the top of you because it liked noise. Or he liked noise, I should say. I have no idea, Sam Bowling Alley, what permaculture actually is. Can you explain it in a very simple thing? I'll probably feel dumb that I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Depends how it's been treated, screw tape. If it's not been kept in damp environments, it'll probably be fine. Kevlar mostly degrades if it gets damp, which is why most Kevlar companies now actually make a waterproof kind of liner on the Kevlar jacket. So, for example, in most Kevlar kind of like vests, it's basically if you wash it, you're meant to take the Kevlar out the liner, then wash the liner, and then the Kevlar actual, filler itself has a waterproof kind of cover over it, and the idea is that you just wipe it down with a damp cloth. But yeah, it depends a lot what it is. Like the UK police Kevlar, it's really hard to find stuff that's in bad condition because it's designed so, it can't get sweaty or damp because of the fact it's in like a waterproof liner. Well, they're dead as well, as you know. Can you stop asking me about my dead pets, please? I think you're fucking doing this on purpose now. I've said like they died years ago before, and then of course you start going, oh, what's your ex dead animal like? MSA 3SPS. Let's have a look. Unless it's like a firefighter's mask. I've got a couple of plate carriers. For the most part, no, because I find them too heavy. I like the ECBA just because it uses compact plates. Right, the fact it says it's a spring exhale valve makes me think it's meant to work on an airline. Because that means a certain amount of pressure. Right, unfortunately, when I'm looking this mask up, it's coming up with air tanks. I think you've bought an airline mask. Oh, yeah, that's a really good idea, Sam. The thing is, when I eventually get a bunker, I'm going to say when, not if, because I'm saving up for one and I really fucking want one. You get enough land with an ROC post that you could definitely have like an allotment style farm thing on top. If I had my own place, I'd definitely do that. Just where I am at the moment, it's completely impractical because somebody else would end up mowing over the stuff I'm growing, or somebody else would just pick them and eat them, sort of thing. You might find a way of bodging a filter screw on tactical, but yeah, you'll probably have the same problem I have with one of my 40mm masks that's designed to work with an airline. As in, even if you can get a filter on it, it starts steaming up because your breath isn't high enough pressure to make it exhale. Well, the point is an ROC bunker, you don't get them in your garden. You buy an actual bunker. Yeah, the thing is, if I was definitely trusting my life on it, I'd want to, know it wasn't too old and it had been kept in good conditions. But yeah, in general, old Kevlar is still going to work to a degree. Nope. As far as I am aware, there is absolutely no types of body armor in the UK that are illegal. There's obviously some companies that only really sell to the police or army, like not private sales. But in terms of, can you buy Kevlar vests? Yes. Can you buy plate carriers? Yes. Can you buy like Kevlar and ballistic shields? Yes. Can you buy helmets of different types? Yes. As far as I'm aware, there is no kind of like helmet or Kevlar, or anything like that is illegal in the UK. As much as they're very restrictive on like actual items like, pepper spray, tasers, firearms, things like that, when it comes to Kevlar and body armor, they really don't seem to care. Thankfully, we're not as bad as some places like Australia where Kevlar is classed as an offensive weapon. Like, what the fuck? Isn't that the thing that in theory it's good, but it was just completely over impractical and like stuff could go through the plates, couldn't it? If I remember Dragon Scale. Again, now that thermoplastics are a thing, Kevlar's going to eventually die out when thermoplastics become commonplace enough because it's just better and lighter. Just like, ballistic nylon was completely phased out by Kevlar. Messes around with one or what? Doesn't matter, because if you can't commit a crime with Kevlar, can you? You can't beat somebody to death with a Kevlar vest. Well, you probably could, but it'd be completely impractical. There's lots of criminals that probably end up wearing body armor, but also lots of innocent people that do. Essentially, it's the stuff that's replacing Kevlar screw type. I can't really tell you exactly how it's made in that because I don't know. It's quite complex, but essentially, it's like lots and lots and lots of milk cartons compressed. I don't know, Marcus. It's the reason I've never bought any because I've never seen one for a reasonable price where a seller has, got enough good feedback that you could make sure that they're selling genuine stuff. But yeah, like I saying, the only thermoplastic bit of armor I've got is, where's the Virtus gone? There it is. This helmet, because this helmet in British service, this is basically like the American ECH, for those of you that don't know. But this helmet replaced this one. And as you can see, this one, well, I don't know if you can see, but this one is essentially lighter and slightly thinner than this one. But this one is way more protective because it's thermoplastic, not Kevlar. So if you put them side to side, they look like that. But yeah, this one is both lighter and thinner, and it actually offers better protection. Yeah, just don't do it again, Maniac. But yeah, so basically, why Kevlar replaced ballistic nylon. So see that old flak jacket there? That's ballistic nylon. So obviously, if you compare the size of a Kevlar vest to a ballistic nylon vest, I don't know how well you can see that there, but the point is that Kevlar is tiny compared to ballistic nylon in terms of thickness to actually be protective. Thermoplastic is like the material that's replacing Kevlar. Thermoplastic technically has a really fancy name. Let me find out the full name for it. Right, the word for thermoplastic is, well, on the Wikipedia page, it just says thermoplastics instead of ballistic Kevlar, but it has a technical name somewhere. Here we go. Ultra high molecular weight polyethylene material. Right, let me link you to this. So basically, This is the stuff modern helmets are made out of, like that's replacing Kevlar. But basically, it's apparently similar to milk cartons. It's just really, really, really thick and compressed. Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's any like sort of examples of it other than Wikipedia. There are companies that sell blocks of it, so I'm actually kind of wondering if you buy a block of this stuff, is that literally like buying an armor sheet? This is what I'm looking at. There's a seller on Amazon that sells high density polyethylene for $24.76, and I'm wondering, looking at this look, I'll just link people if the link will fit in YouTube. No, it's too long by like 100 and something characters, so I can't link it. I'm actually kind of I'm going to buy one of these and then I'll do some tests on it because I'm very interested. Right, I've ordered one. So I'll do a test video on that, but I'm very interested. For 25 quid, you can basically buy a sheet of this stuff, so I want to test it as a plate. That's pretty cool, Stuart. Maybe, but it depends on the voltage they run at. Radiac Maniac. It is pretty strong, Daniel, if it's made right. I think again it comes down to how well it's been made. Basically what you just said, Sam. If it sounds catchy and good, I'll listen to it. I can't stand when people put on Radio 1 for the most part at work, but if people are listening to music that sounds good, whether it be classical, soundtracks, you know, metal, rock, rap, whatever, as long as it sounds good and the lyrics are good, or the singer's good, you know, if it's a song with words in, I don't mind it. When it's auto-tuned shit because the person who makes it can't actually sing, then I think it's shit, basically. But yeah, with music for me, it just mostly means, is it sound good? Does it have clever lyrics? If there's lyrics, is it sung well? Yeah, I'll link you on Discord in about 5 minutes when I finish, Marcus. But yeah, I'll be going off in a minute. But yeah. Yeah, it's the one I linked, Daniel, but that's what's used in helmets. It's like really, really good stuff when that's used, and you can find videos of people shooting it, and it does work. I've never really listened to Sabaton. I've obviously listened to things like Metallica, Rammstein, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, and all of those. But I know what Sabaton are, but I've never really listened to them. Right, Cozy. Basically, if I could have a choice between an AK, like, you know, a 7.62 by 39mm AK and an AR-15, I'd rather an AR-15. Between an AK-74 and an AR-15, I think I'd rather have the AK-74. But anyway, right, I'll be off now. Thanks for everybody that's been on. It's been mostly a good stream tonight, actually. And I'm going to link Marcus to that chopping board thing I bought. All right, bye.